James Hunter é um dos autores mais bem-sucedidos da atualidade. Seus livros já foram consumidos por mais de 5 milhões de leitores, sendo que 80% deles apenas no Brasil. O best-seller O Monge Executivo definitivamente caiu nas graças dos brasileiros. Em sua terceira empreitada, em De Volta ao Mosteiro, que está sendo lançado primeiramente aqui no Brasil, o autor revisita os conceitos da liderança servidora e leva os personagens de volta ao cenário do primeiro livro. How do you explain your success in Brazil?
Well, that's a great question. I get that question quite a bit, and I'm not sure I totally know the answer to that. I've heard a lot of theories, but I think it's a couple of things. Brazilians love a story, and evidenced by soap operas and things that people find so exciting here. And so I think the fact that the book was a story was one of the reasons. The fact that CEO being helped by a monk, and Brazil is a religious country, so I think the idea of a monk helping an executive was tantalizing to some people. I think the book represents hope for Brazilians. I think Brazilians, as in my country, are tired, very tired. The cry for better leadership is happening all over the world. Places like Libya and Egypt and Syria, even in my country, people are so tired of bad leadership. So I think the book represents that. I teach leadership in the United States and I don't write. And so the fact that I even wrote it is a bit of a miracle. And it poured out of me in 6 weeks. And to give you context, my second book took 6 years, and the third book took 10 years. But the first one, Monge, was 6 weeks, and it was just God pouring that thing out of me. So,
What differentiates the new book from previous?
well, the first book was written 17 years ago. I've learned a lot. I've worked with over 500 companies around the world over the last 20 years, and I've learned a lot of things, new things that I wanted to share with my readers, especially my Brazilian readers. The book is just being released in Brazil, nowhere else, not even in the U.S. We won't be releasing it in the U.S. for at least 6 months or more. But I wanted it to come here because Brazil is very special to me. This is where most of my success has been. But the new things, I've learned more about servant leadership over 17 years. I've learned more about the importance of culture within an organization, kind of how we behave, how we do things here, our values, our behaviors, our attitudes. So I've learned a lot about culture and how important that is in building community, emotional connections between people and team that I didn't talk about in my first 2 books. And I now know that leadership alone is not enough. I view it as 2 wings to the bird to fly. And the one wing is great leadership, and the other wing is building emotional connections, building community with the players, whether it's a marriage, a family, a business, a soccer team, the importance of both. And when we get both leadership and community togetherness going, the bird gets a lot further, a lot faster.
And how do you get in contact with the concept of the servant leader?
Experience. I've been working in organizations for 35 years. The first 10 or so before I started teaching servant leadership was in labor relations in Detroit. So I worked with very troubled companies going through big turmoil, strikes, violence, sabotage, turnover, absenteeism. In my country, Detroit is the home of the labor movement, and it's a tough place. And I was in a lot of really messed up organizations. And I learned a lot about bad leadership in those places and what bad leadership creates. And so over the years, I just paid real close attention to what the bad leaders were doing that caused the problem, and I paid attention to the good leaders that I knew and what they did to create excellence. And I realized it all boiled down to servant leadership. It boiled down to leaders who were people-focused. They were focused on their people. They identified and met the needs of their people. They hug hard. They spank hard. They set the rules of the house. So it was experience that got me to servant leadership.
What is the biggest challenge for business leaders today?
Great leadership is love. It's the willingness to extend yourself for your people, to identify and meet their needs and help them grow. has nothing to do with how you feel. It has everything to do with what you do. And a lot of leaders just don't take the time with their people. They're busy, and which is not an excuse.